In the distant corners of the galaxy, on a planet known as Xandar, there lived a creature that terrorized everything in its path. This beast was so large and powerful that even the bravest of warriors trembled at the thought of facing it. The people of Xandar had long whispered of its destructive power, and many legends surrounded it. Some claimed the creature was as old as the stars themselves. Others said it was a force of nature that could never be defeated. No one dared to stand up to it. The creature's massive frame loomed over the desolate landscape, its claws as sharp as knives, its eyes burning with an unearthly fire. Its roar echoed through the heavens, sending shivers down the spines of anyone who heard it. The people had tried to fight it, but every time they did, they met with failure. The creature destroyed their cities, their homes, and their armies. It showed no mercy and left only destruction in its wake. The alien royalty, a proud and powerful race, had long ruled the galaxy. They had seen countless worlds and conquered many civilizations, but when it came to this galactic terror, even they were helpless. From their thrones on the planet of Rylok, they could only watch as the creature caused havoc across the universe. They had sent their best warriors to deal with the beast, but none returned. It seemed that the creature was unbeatable. For years, the alien kings and queens debated how to deal with the threat. They could not allow the terror to spread further, but every plan they came up with failed. They thought they could send armies to destroy it, or perhaps use their advanced technology to trap it. But each time, the beast tore through their forces, unstoppable and relentless. One day, as the alien royalty sat in their grand palace, gazing at the stars from their high towers, a new figure appeared in the galaxy. The lone human, traveling alone in a small ship, arrived at the edge of Rylok's space. His name was Captain Ezra, a warrior unlike any the aliens had seen before. He was not from their world. In fact, he was not even from their galaxy. Captain Ezra came from a small, distant planet called Earth, a planet known for its resilience and determination. The alien kings and queens were skeptical at first. How could a mere human, a creature so small and fragile in their eyes, have any hope of facing the galactic terror that had eluded their most skilled warriors? They sent spies to watch him, expecting him to turn around and flee as so many others had done before him. But Captain Ezra did not turn back. He didn't hesitate. He was determined to face the beast head-on, no matter the odds. The alien royalty watched from their throne room, intrigued by this human's courage, yet convinced he would fail just like the rest. They allowed him to enter the arena where the monster had been last seen, hoping to see his quick defeat. But what they saw instead made their jaws drop. Captain Ezra didn't just prepare for a fight. He didn't arrive with weapons or technology. No, he arrived with something far more powerful, a calm mind and an unshakable belief in himself. He wasn't afraid. He knew he was different from the others who had come before him. While the aliens relied on their technology and armies, Captain Ezra relied on something they had never considered: the power of understanding and control. The alien royalty watched in disbelief as Captain Ezra approached the heart of the creature's lair, a dark and dangerous forest on the outskirts of the planet. The creature was said to reside deep within the jungle, hiding among the dense trees and vines. The beast had made its home there, and no one dared disturb it. But Ezra wasn't afraid. He walked boldly into the forest, alone, without fear, and without hesitation. The alien royalty chuckled to themselves, thinking that they were witnessing another fool's final moments. They had seen so many warriors fail before him. But what happened next was beyond their understanding. Captain Ezra's voice echoed through the jungle. He spoke softly, calmly, as though he were speaking to an old friend. His words were strange and unknown to the aliens, but they were filled with purpose. The forest fell silent. Then, a massive shape moved through the trees, a shadow of pure terror. The creature, with its glowing eyes and sharp claws, appeared before Ezra. It roared, shaking the ground with its mighty voice, sending tremors through the air. The alien royalty braced themselves for the human's destruction. But Ezra didn't flinch. Instead, he stepped forward slowly, his eyes locked onto the creature's glowing gaze. To their shock, the beast stopped. It growled, uncertain, as if it had never been faced with such calmness. Ezra reached out slowly, his hand steady, his heart calm. The alien royalty could not believe their eyes. How could this small human, this outsider, face the galactic terror without fear? What power did he have that they did not? And as the beast stood before him, silent and still, the aliens knew they were about to witness something that would change the galaxy forever. The creature, known as the Galactic Terror, stood tall, towering over the forest like a god of destruction. Its scales shimmered like black steel, its eyes burning with a ferocity that could make even the bravest warriors hesitate. The alien royalty, watching from their grand palace, had no idea what was about to unfold. All they knew was that no one had ever survived an encounter with this beast, not even their most skilled fighters. Captain Ezra, the lone human warrior, was now deep within the jungle. His heart beat steadily, his senses heightened, but his mind remained calm. Unlike the alien soldiers who had rushed into battle with their weapons drawn, Ezra was taking a different approach. He didn't believe in the need for violence. Instead, he believed in the power of connection, the ability to communicate with the very creatures that others saw as mere tools of destruction. As the silence of the forest grew deeper, Ezra could feel the presence of the beast, lurking somewhere in the shadows. He wasn't afraid. He had faced many challenges in his life, but this one was different. The stakes were higher. The creature he was about to face was unlike anything he had ever seen. He had read the ancient texts, studied the legends of this galactic terror, and understood that it wasn't just a creature. It was a force of nature, a symbol of uncontrollable chaos. But Ezra also knew that every beast, no matter how monstrous, had a heart, a soul, and if he could reach that soul, he could tame it. He paused for a moment, listening to the soft rustling of the leaves above. The wind whispered through the trees, as if nature itself was holding its breath. Ezra's eyes scanned the surroundings. The jungle was dense, dark, and full of unknown dangers, but Ezra didn't let fear cloud his mind. He had one goal: to face the beast and find a way to tame it. The alien royalty watched through their high-tech surveillance devices, unsure of what to make of this strange human. They had seen warriors come and go, all falling to the creature. But this man, this human, was different. His movements were calculated, deliberate, as though he was preparing for something they could not yet understand. Suddenly, the ground trembled. Ezra felt the vibration in the air, like the entire forest was shaking under the weight of something massive. He turned his head slowly, his eyes narrowing as he scanned the thick forest in front of him. There, emerging from the shadows, was the Galactic Terror. Its enormous form seemed to fill the clearing, its glowing eyes fixed on Ezra with an intensity that could melt a lesser man in an instant. The beast growled, its deep voice resonating like thunder, and the ground beneath Ezra's feet rumbled with each step the creature took. The alien royalty held their breath as they watched the human warrior, standing alone in the clearing, facing the monster. They could see the creature's massive claws, each one sharp enough to slice through metal, its mouth filled with rows of teeth that could tear through flesh in seconds. But Ezra did not flinch. He stood tall, his eyes locked on the beast, a calm determination in his gaze. The Galactic Terror snarled, taking a step closer. The alien kings and queens watched closely, expecting Ezra to draw his weapons and fight back. That was how things were done. After all, by force, by violence, by strength. But Ezra did not move to draw his sword. Instead, he took a deep breath and stepped forward, one slow, deliberate step at a time. The creature roared again, the sound deafening, but Ezra remained unfazed. The air was thick with tension, as though the very world was holding its breath. The alien royalty, still watching from their palace, exchanged uneasy glances. They had never seen anything like this before. The human was not fighting back. He was not even preparing to fight. He was simply standing there, facing the creature with an almost unnatural calmness. Ezra's voice broke the silence. It was low, steady, and strong. "I do not wish to fight you," he said, his words carrying across the clearing like a quiet command. His voice, though soft, had an undeniable authority. It was as though he was speaking not just to the creature, but to the very fabric of the universe itself. The creature hesitated for a moment, its glowing eyes narrowing as it studied the human. The alien royalty could not believe what they were witnessing. No one had ever spoken to the beast this way. It was a creature of pure destruction, with no capacity for understanding or compassion. It killed without reason, without hesitation. And yet, here was this human, standing in its path, speaking to it as though it were a mere wild animal to be tamed. Could it be possible? Could this human truly be different from the others? The beast took a step back, its massive form trembling slightly. Ezra noticed the change in the creature's stance, the subtle shift from aggression to uncertainty. He took another step forward, his hand extended slightly toward the beast. "I know you are more than just a weapon," Ezra said. "You are not the monster they say you are. You were made to protect, not destroy." The galactic terror let out a low growl, but it did not advance. The creature's eyes shifted, as though it was processing the words it had never heard before. Ezra's words, though foreign to it, seemed to strike a chord deep within. He spoke not with threats, but with empathy and understanding. The beast, which had been bred for destruction, had never encountered anyone who spoke to it with kindness. The alien royalty watched in disbelief as the beast took another step back, its once burning eyes flickering with confusion. For the first time in its existence, it was not attacking. It was pausing, hesitating, unsure of what was happening. The human warrior, who had entered the jungle as a stranger, was now standing before the creature as its equal. Ezra knew that this was a moment of opportunity. The creature's violent nature could be tamed, but only if it could understand that it was not alone, that it had a purpose beyond destruction. He spoke again, his voice unwavering. "You are not a terror. You are a guardian, and I can help you find your true purpose." The galactic terror growled softly, its massive body quivering. Ezra took another step forward, closer now, until he was standing just a few feet away from the beast. The alien royalty held their collective breath, unsure of what would happen next. Could this human truly tame the beast? Or was this just another fool's last moment before death? The creature sniffed the air, its nostrils flaring. It was close enough now that Ezra could feel its breath, hot and heavy, against his skin. But still, the beast did not attack. Instead, it looked at him with eyes that were no longer filled with hatred. The rage that had once burned within it seemed to be fading, replaced by something else, something unfamiliar. Ezra reached out slowly, his hand extended towards the creature's massive head. The alien royalty watched in shock as the beast did not strike. Instead, it allowed the human to come closer. And with a single, careful motion, Ezra gently placed his hand on the creature's scaled hide. The tension in the air was palpable. The forest seemed to hold its breath as the human and the galactic terror stood together, connected in a way that no one had ever imagined possible. The beast's growl softened, its eyes narrowing in contemplation. For the first time in its life, it felt something other than anger. Perhaps, for the first time, it felt peace. The alien royalty watched, stunned, as the impossible began to unfold before their eyes. The beast, the galactic terror, had stopped being the symbol of destruction. Instead, it was becoming something new, something different. And the human, this outsider from a faraway world, had found a way to communicate with it in a way that no one else ever had. Ezra's calmness, his understanding, had bridged the gap between the creature's violence and its true nature. And as the creature stood still, its once burning eyes now calm and steady, the alien royalty realized something they had never expected. The human had not come to fight the beast. He had come to save it. The moment the human, Captain Ezra, had touched the massive, terrifying beast, the entire forest seemed to shift. The beast's growls, once filled with rage, became quieter, almost hesitant. Ezra stood beside the creature, his hand still resting gently on its scaled hide. A heavy silence enveloped the scene. The air was thick with tension, yet there was something calming about the connection forming between the two. The galactic terror, an embodiment of destruction, now stood still, no longer the uncontrollable monster it once was. Ezra's heart beat steadily as he continued to speak softly to the creature, his voice filled with a quiet strength. You don't have to be what they made you. You can choose a different path. You can be something better. His words weren't commands or orders, but an invitation, a promise. The beast's eyes, which had burned with an unearthly fire, now glimmered with uncertainty. The deep primal force that had driven it to destroy everything in its path was still there, but it was fading. Ezra's calming presence seemed to strip away the layers of anger that had once consumed the beast. He had faced monsters in his life before, but never one quite like this. He knew the creature was more than just a weapon of terror. It was a being of great power, capable of so much more than destruction. The question was, could he help it realize that? The alien royalty, watching from their distant palace, couldn't believe their eyes. They had seen the creature up close, experienced its wrath firsthand. And yet, here was this human, not fighting the beast, but standing beside it, taming it with nothing more than words and touch. It was as if the laws of nature had been rewritten in front of them. The very creature that had destroyed entire cities was now subdued, its fury tempered by a single, unwavering human. For the first time in centuries, the alien rulers were unsure of themselves. They had once believed that strength, power, and domination were the only paths to control. But this human, this small, seemingly fragile warrior, was showing them something entirely different. He wasn't forcing the beast into submission with weapons or technology. He was speaking to it, connecting with it, and the creature was responding. The royals had underestimated humanity, and now they were witnessing its true potential. As Ezra stood there, the transformation continued. The beast's massive, jagged claws, once raised in anger, slowly retracted into its massive paws. Its terrifying mouth, filled with rows of razor-sharp teeth, softened, and the terrifying roar that had struck fear into the hearts of entire galaxies became a mere rumble. Ezra could see it now. The beast wasn't a mindless killing machine. It had feelings, instincts, and just like any other living being, it could change. Your purpose is not destruction, Ezra said, his voice steady and full of compassion. You are meant for something more. You are a guardian, not a destroyer. The creature's eyes flickered with what could only be described as recognition. Its once fierce demeanor softened, and it lowered its enormous head toward Ezra. It was as if the beast was acknowledging the truth in Ezra's words. The calm that Ezra had brought to the creature was evident now, and the alien royalty, watching from afar, were speechless. Slowly, Ezra began to move away from the beast. He didn't rush, knowing that this process, this transformation, was not something that could happen overnight. It was a slow change, a delicate one, but it was happening. The beast followed him, its massive form now more composed, its every step more measured. The once untamable creature now seemed to understand Ezra's presence. It was no longer a terror, it was a protector. As the transformation continued, the jungle around them seemed to shift as well. The once threatening landscape with its dark, twisted trees and thick underbrush now seemed less menacing. The sun broke through the clouds, casting a warm, golden light onto the scene. Ezra and the beast stood together, not as predator and prey, but as allies. Two beings, once enemies, now united by a shared purpose. The alien royalty, who had been watching from their high towers, could no longer hide their amazement. They had believed this moment was impossible. No one had ever tamed the galactic terror before. No one had ever attempted to challenge its dominance in this way. And yet, here was this human, this outsider, turning the creature into something unrecognizable. What was even more shocking was how the beast, once a symbol of fear, now seemed almost gentle. It moved with purpose, its actions no longer fueled by mindless aggression. Instead, it moved beside Ezra, its massive form a symbol of strength that was now tempered with loyalty. The galactic terror, once a creature of pure destruction, was now something else entirely. A guardian, a protector, a companion. Ezra, looking up at the alien royalty, could see the astonishment in their eyes. They were witnessing the impossible. They had witnessed destruction. They had witnessed power. But this was different. This was transformation. This was something that could change the fate of the galaxy. As Ezra stood there with the creature beside him, he couldn't help but feel a deep sense of pride. He had not only tamed the beast, he had given it a new life, a new purpose. The creature's violent past was now behind it. It had chosen a different path, one of peace, one of protection. It was no longer a monster, it was a guardian. And with that, Ezra knew that his work was not done. The galaxy needed more than just warriors who fought with weapons. It needed leaders who understood the power of change, the power of empathy. He had proven that even the most terrifying creatures could be tamed, not through force, but through understanding. And he would continue his journey, knowing that there were other creatures, other beings, out there that needed his help. The alien royalty, though still in shock, had learned something important that day. They had learned that strength came in many forms, not just through weapons or force, but through the ability to understand and connect with others. They had witnessed the true power of humanity, and they could no longer deny the truth. Ezra had tamed the galactic terror, and in doing so, he had changed the very fabric of their understanding of strength and power. The beast, now transformed, let out a low, rumbling sound, a sound of peace, not of aggression. It stood beside Ezra, its loyalty unquestionable. And as the two of them walked back through the jungle, the once feared creature now calm and docile, Ezra knew that this was only the beginning. The galaxy would never be the same again. The transformation was complete. Captain Ezra stood beside the once feared galactic terror, now a loyal guardian, as the alien royalty looked on from their throne room. They had watched in silence as the creature, once a symbol of destruction, had shifted before their eyes into something entirely new, something unrecognizable. The galaxy that had once been ruled by fear and power was now at the brink of a new era, one where empathy, understanding, and change could reshape the very foundations of civilization. But the journey was not yet over. While the beast had been tamed and its destructive nature quelled, the galaxy was still in turmoil. The alien kings and queens, who had ruled with an iron fist for centuries, needed to see that what Ezra had done was not just a miracle. It was a lesson that could change everything they knew about leadership, about power, and about what it meant to rule. As Ezra and the beast walked toward the heart of the alien palace, the tension in the air was thick. The alien royalty had never witnessed anything like this before. The creature they had feared for so long, the monster that had destroyed their armies, was now walking alongside this human warrior, who had proven to them that even the most powerful beings could be understood, tamed, and guided to a new path. But could they accept this new reality? Could they embrace the idea that true strength didn't come from fear, but from compassion? Ezra and the beast entered the grand hall, where the alien royalty awaited. The vast space was filled with towering columns, glowing with strange, otherworldly lights. The walls were lined with tapestries that told the stories of their people's conquests, their triumphs, their power. But today, the story that would be written would be different. Today, the story would be one of change, one of transformation, not just for the creature at Ezra's side, but for the very galaxy itself. The alien king, a tall, regal figure with shimmering golden armor, stepped forward. His eyes, once filled with arrogance and pride, now held a hint of uncertainty. The other royals followed suit, their expressions a mix of awe and disbelief. They had watched as Ezra tamed the beast, but they could not yet fathom what that meant for their future. "You have done the impossible," the king said, his voice heavy with admiration. "We have seen you transform the galactic terror into a guardian. But we must understand, why? Why did you not kill it like the others would have? Why did you choose to tame it?" Ezra stood tall, the beast by his side, its massive form now calm and composed. "Because it was never meant to be a terror. It was created to be a weapon. But like all creatures, it has the capacity for change. I didn't kill it because I believe no being is beyond redemption. The creature, like all of us, was simply lost. It needed guidance, not destruction." The alien royalty exchanged uneasy glances. Their society had been built on the idea of domination, control, and power. They had always believed that strength came from fear. But here was a human who had proven that true power came from understanding, from empathy. Ezra had not used violence to subdue the creature. He had used compassion, patience, and wisdom. And in doing so, he had not only tamed the beast, but had taught the royalty a valuable lesson. The queen, a tall figure with piercing eyes, spoke next. "You have shown us that strength is not always about domination. But how can we trust this creature now? How can we be sure it won't turn on us, just as it did before?" Ezra smiled gently. "Trust is not something that is given, it is earned. This creature has shown that it can change, just as you can. You are not bound to the past, to the old ways. Just as the beast has found a new purpose, so can you. The power to lead does not come from fear. It comes from understanding and guiding those who follow you." The king's eyes softened as he looked at the beast. It was no longer the terrifying monster that had once sent shivers down his spine. It was no longer a weapon of destruction. It was standing proudly by Ezra's side, its massive form a symbol of strength tempered by loyalty. The king had seen this creature in action before. He had witnessed its power firsthand. But now he saw something else in its eyes. He saw something that had been buried deep within it, a willingness to protect, to serve, and to defend. "Perhaps we have been wrong," the king murmured. "Perhaps the old ways are not the only way. We have ruled with fear for too long. Maybe it is time for a new kind of leadership." The other royals nodded in agreement, their faces a mixture of surprise and contemplation. They had never thought about leadership in this way before. They had never considered that compassion, empathy, and understanding could be as powerful as fear and domination. But Ezra had shown them that it was possible. That change was not just something that could happen to a creature, but something that could happen to an entire galaxy. The queen stepped forward, her gaze fixed on Ezra. "We have been watching you closely, human. And now we see that you have something we have lacked. You have the wisdom to understand the creatures of this galaxy and the strength to lead them without fear. Perhaps it is time for us to learn from you." Ezra bowed his head slightly, a sign of respect. "I am not here to rule you," he said. "I am here to help. The galaxy has so much potential, so many beings with the ability to change. We just need to be willing to guide them, not control them." The alien royalty stood in silence for a moment, absorbing Ezra's words. They had spent centuries believing in the idea of control, of dominance. They had ruled with fear, using their power to bend others to their will. But now, they were beginning to see that true strength did not come from domination. It came from understanding, from mutual respect. The beast, now a guardian, let out a low, rumbling sound. A sound of peace, not aggression. It stood beside Ezra, its massive form now calm and composed. It had transformed from a creature of terror into a protector, a symbol of loyalty and strength. And as Ezra looked at the alien royalty, he knew that this was just the beginning. The galaxy could be a place of peace, a place where understanding and compassion ruled instead of fear and violence. The king stepped forward and placed a hand on Ezra's shoulder. "You have shown us what true power is, human. You have proven that even the greatest of beasts can be tamed, that even the most powerful beings can change. Perhaps we have much to learn from you." Ezra nodded, smiling warmly. "We all have something to learn. And together, we can build a galaxy that is ruled by compassion, by understanding. A galaxy where power is not defined by fear, but by the ability to bring about positive change." As the alien royalty began to realize the true nature of leadership, the once feared galactic terror stood proudly by Ezra's side, no longer a force of destruction, but a symbol of loyalty, strength, and transformation. The entire galaxy, it seemed, was on the verge of a new beginning, one where power and empathy could coexist. And so, as the sun set on the alien world, a new era began, one where the creatures of the galaxy would no longer be seen as tools to be controlled, but as beings with the potential to change, to grow, and to live in peace. And at the heart of it all stood Captain Ezra, a human who had not only tamed a beast, but had transformed the very nature of the galaxy itself. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. The galaxy had a new hope, and it was guided by the power of compassion.